10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And live with the 190th episode of the Power Hour on the CompetitionPlus.com platforms. I'm Lee Kraft, and over there is Mr. Dujanay Bland. And let's first of all say once again, congratulations to Bobby Bennett Jr. 25 years for anything is a feat. 25 years in the tumultuous world of motorsports media, in particular drag racing, with all its ups and downs, can certainly be challenging. Congratulations, Bobby.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And it keeps on rolling along, and it's going to get better. He's got some stuff he's going to be dropping. If you watch the 25th anniversary show, the celebration show, on Sunday, you might have caught a little bit of that, but super excited for where this goes, and congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, some sneak peeks. We've been able to see some things. Things are going to be looking a little different around CompetitionPlus.com, and for the better. And no telling what else is coming down the pipeline before long. And also the tried and true as well. You know, Bobby Bennett's going to continue to upload the old races, which everyone enjoys, gives you the highlights from the races that are happening in our day right now, and series such as the Legends series that is tremendously popular. We're glad to have each and every one of you watching along. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and chime in wherever you are watching from. We're going to be talking drag racing. I'm looking forward to getting Dujanay's take on the NHRA national event. I haven't been able to watch much of all concerning the NHRA national event, with covering the Southeast Gassers Association at Knoxville Dragway and Travel. So I'll bring folks up to speed on that. Dujanay will talk some national event with you and take the whole scope of the drag racing world. I do recognize that we've got some interesting news in our guest from the pro stock motorcycle racing world. It's not Gage Herrera. It's not Matt Smith. It's Hector Arana Jr., the winner there at Maple Grove. Looking forward to chatting with him in just a few moments.
Indeed. Guy who's kept his head down. No complaining. They just chop wood, and it's paid off when it matters right here in the countdown.
That it has. And with him going out there and picking up the first pro stock motorcycle win in the countdown, certainly we might have some hope that this is going to be an interesting countdown ahead of us as media, fans, riders, racers in the NHRA. So we're going to take a look at the winners from Reading, and then talk to a winner in Hector Arana Jr. from the House of Chaos, Maple Grove Raceway there in Reading, Pennsylvania.
They leave. Antron's out first. Langdon's trying to catch him, and it's going to be Antron Brown. 379.8, much to the delight of these fans. 327 miles an hour, outruns a 380, and it was Brown out first. That 43 light to Langdon 62. The Nitro Funny Car Final. It's a dandy, and it's going to be Austin Prock, 389 at 332 miles an hour. He talked to Bruno, and he said, if we got a 389 in this thing, if we need it, lo and behold, they did. Another astonishingly awesome performance. They leave. It is Stanfield by a significant 4/100ths of a second at the finish line stripe. It is Aaron Stanfield. Man, this guy is absolutely crushing him this year. It is a whole shot victory. He won the U.S. Nationals 2 weeks ago. He now wins here. He is leading in all basic categories, 6:56.9. Arana's last race win came last year in Norwalk, Ohio. It is his 36th career final round. Gadsden is attempting to win his first ever national event. An 11 reaction time for Richard Gadsden gives him a little breathing room in the starting line, but look at Arana's motorcycle, which has simply flown this weekend. 683.9 at 198 miles an hour. Arana gets it done. 687.4 for Gadsden. Just didn't have enough horse.
Hector, welcome to the show. Man, what a drag race that was in the final. Now, look, we'll talk about that win in particular in just a few moments. I want to, first of all, get from you your perspective on the 2024 season for your program. Going into Maple Grove, did it feel like your program was in a place that a win was right there for the team, or did you feel that it was somewhere else?
No, you know what? We went into the countdown prepared to race, and we were breaking in tires, we were getting things ready, doing a lot of testing leading up to the countdown, and we went there on a mission, and that was to be consistent and run to our full potential and go around. So that's exactly what we do, because it's countdown time now, and we're going for a championship.
Was it nice to be involved in that race and basically kind of own the competition a little bit? You saw Gage Herrera pressing a little bit, and he was pressing because he knew over in the other lane, Hector had a bike.
Yeah, it felt good, and you know what? I've been on the other side of that, and it definitely gives you a confidence edge when you have a fast, consistent bike. So, there's one thing having a fast bike, but it's when you have a consistent fast bike, it just gives you, as a rider, all the confidence in the world, and you just, you believe in the bike, and you go out there and you do your thing, and that's exactly what we did this past Sunday at Reading.
All right. Whole scope of the 2024 season up to this point question once again. So much chatter in the pro stock motorcycle world, no matter where it's been coming from or who it's been aimed at or who is aiming at who, doesn't matter. Seems like you've been kind of able to stay out of some of that light, but as a competitor within it, what are your thoughts on all that has been going on, from rules changes to some pointing of fingers to the he said, she said type of things happening out there?
Yeah, you know what? I point out the facts, and I provide them to NHRA. They do have a tough task at hand with trying to create parity within the class, but it's something that's a necessity in order to keep the health of the class. So this latest rule change that they've done, I'm sure others may not be happy, but myself, I'm happy with it. I think that the Vance and Hines Suzuki's did prove they were able to still throw out a number, that they still have an advantage over us. Because if you look at the U.S. national results after the latest rule change, and you look at Reading, for whatever reason they struggled this weekend on Sunday, but and we were able to be consistent, which is something we've been working towards all year. But you know what? We need to have parity, because it calls for close racing, and when there's close racing, the fans are into it, and when there's new winners, the fans are into it. And I can't take anything away from the guys from being really successful and having a fast bike, but it also helps when the rules favor you as well.
What's been y'all's struggle throughout the season of trying to get your bike up to be consistent? What are some of the struggles that you guys have had to kind of get it in that direction?
I mean, really a lot of struggles has been just kind of going through tires and, figuring out different clutch setups and different ways to manage the bike off the starting line. That's the biggest thing. We have the horsepower to run down the back, and it's getting the bike to leave the line consistently. And then from there, it's getting it to transition, to that 1-2 gear change. And from the 60 to 330, it's all about accelerating the bike. And so that's what that's been our biggest challenge and what we've worked the hardest on. And, went into the playoffs with what we managed to put together as our most consistent package.
Beyond Reading, what's it going to take to remain this competitive and to give Gage Herrera a fight all the way down to the last race of the year, and potentially someone such as yourself spin the whole narrative and everybody that went Gage to be the 2024 champion of NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle flipped on its head?
Yeah, I mean, we have to do a repeat of Reading. So we got to go out there. Our motor's fresh, and we just got to stay consistent, and we got to make good consistent calls, which is we did I think we did a really good job in Sonoma on Sunday, and we were doing pretty good on in Indy. We were a little behind performance wise. We had an issue with the engine, but when you have a consistent bike, it makes it easier to ride as well. And the bike it reacts consistently, and you're able to dial it in tune. So that's where we're at right now. We have a consistent bike, and so now it's just going to be dialing it in from race to race and taking that all that data and applying it to to each track and paying close attention to the weather and to the track conditions and just staying focused.
Speaking of the weather and track conditions, going into Charlotte, a nice track there. Weather's usually favorable for, nice, solid, big runs. You got to have a lot of confidence going into a place like this, especially after the performance you guys were able to put in at Reading.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm going to, start off with our setup from Reading as a baseline. The track was pretty decent there. I foresee it to be pretty close, and we'll build off of that. We'll make our first pass, and then we'll make the adjustments as needed from there.
Well, aside from the win, the racing upcoming at Charlotte, some interesting developments in Pro Stock Motorcycle recently concerning safety. I'm curious of your thoughts on what you have possibly experimented with. Bostic recently ran with a parachute and saw some success with it. And then we saw Angie that very same day hit the sand, and she was all right, but had a brake issue. And it seems to be popping up more than ever in Pro Stock Motorcycle with the speeds that you all are running these days, the highly competitive nature of NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle. So when you look at your bike, when you consider your own safety and what's out there right now, what are measures that you're taking and thinking of taking?
Yeah, so I use all my brakes. I cross the finish line, I pull in the clutch, and I use my front brakes and I use my rear brakes. I pump the brakes and I work them all the way through, and I've been successful with slowing down, and when you look, we're usually at least top 3 for speed, so we're one of the faster bikes. And there's a lot of competitors out there that aren't even using the rear brakes half the time. But if there is something that we needed to do to increase the stopping power, I mean, you could always look at maybe increasing the rotor diameter of the rear brake just to give you that extra braking power with the rear tire. Obviously, the concern is overpowering the smaller front wheel, which is why some of the riders have went down here recently, and it's something that's easy. You're on the brakes, you hit a bump, and before you know it, it's locked up. I even experienced kind of very slightly locking up the front brake myself this weekend in Reading, because it is a downhill, and you have that transition when you're going from the flat quarter mile and you start to go down the hill. The front end typically will get a little light, and you usually kind of got to ease off the brake and then get back on it hard again once you're going down the hill. But that's where being a rider and being experienced and being a pro comes into place, is having that experience to be able to handle the bike under those conditions. But use the rear brakes, put a bigger rotor on there, and I mean that'll help drag down the bike. So, I personally, if I need to, I'll let the clutch out to help engine brake. But for myself, I personally think that's hard on the engine to, decel the motor like that. So I like to pull the clutch in at the finish line, and I just use both for front and rear brakes. The parachute, I don't know. I mean, in perfect conditions, I'm sure it's great to have that extra little drag, but we haven't seen it in crosswinds. And there's also times where you're fighting the bike, and sometimes one bike gets kind of right behind the other bike. So now what happens when you have, a parachute dragging behind the bike a couple feet now? It's going to be a different situation. I don't know that it's something that I can say that I'm exactly for or in favor of. I think there's things that could be done to increase the stopping power of the bikes before we even get to the point of looking at a parachute.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is now the second person that I've spoken to. I talked to Eddie about this a while back when it was like a test thing that he had done, and his same mention and concern was crosswind. And that's what we talked about on the Not Blend show a couple shows ago about it's cool now, but I want to see what happens when it gets into a crosswind. And you, again, have expressed that concern as well. I want to tell you that Dave W. says, thank you, Hector. He put his money on you, and it paid.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
Thank you for putting your money on me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a good pick. The heck of a pick, for sure. Indeed. Man, tell us the importance and how great Getrix has been to you guys. They've been on this bike for a while now, and they have stuck with you guys even through the struggles.
Yeah, you know what? We can't thank the Getrix company and team and family enough. They're a great group of guys, and they brought our program back to life. When Luke Soil pulled out a couple of years ago, we were going out to the races here and there, and just competing at a couple events as a privateer. But they brought us back to life, and we're out here racing full time again. And last year we were able to get another win for them. We finished third in points, so overall it was a decent year. And this year we're looking to improve on that. And we've been able to get them, their third Wally. So, but you know what? It's the team is great, and the company is great, and it's a really big company. And it's for those of you who don't know, Getrix is a credit card processing company. It's the fastest name in credit card processing, and they have a lot of very competitive rates, and rates that are really hard to beat. So if you guys are interested, you could reach out to me at on my Instagram, Hector Jr 300, or you could reach out to the show and they could reach out to me. But if there's anything I could do to help connect you to Getrix, I'd be more than pleased to help you guys out. It's a great company to work for, and you definitely get all the support. You support the racers, you support the guys like me out there racing, and you support the sport. So it's definitely a good thing.
I certainly know some convenience stores that could use Getrix and get me out quicker instead of standing there at the system and waiting and waiting and waiting. So
Definitely.
I'm glad they got the fastest, and it certainly fits with them being in the fastest accelerating motorsport that there is in NHRA drag racing, and their involvement with yourself, Antron Brown, and I'm even sure across the other categories as well. I can't think of right off the top of my head who else they're associated with, but they are out there. And it's wonderful that, wow, it was 3 years ago? You weren't even on the scene. You were out of it and, clawing back. And it has been a good comeback and a strong comeback. And, you mentioned finishing third last year. I mean, Gage just dominated so much. We kind of don't think of second and third and fourth and fifth, but third in points and a win here going into the countdown. Do you feel that your program, well, again, all the talk with Gage, that you all were that far off, or did it feel like you were one find away from being effective in the program and, going toe to toe with Gage, Vance, and Hines? Or was it that situation that everybody was just that far off? Or was it a matter of, hey, we're eventually going to catch you, and when we do, we're going to be on top? What are the thoughts? What's the consensus for your own program and across Pro Stock Motorcycle?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, we put our heads down and we dig deep and we stay fighting, which is kind of what we've been doing, flying under the radar and being prepared and working on engines. I mean, even to this day, my dad he stayed home from Reading and has stayed at the shop, continuing working on finding some more horsepower, building some more engines so we have plenty of spares that are all, at that same power level, if not more. So that way, if there's an event where we have an engine failure, we can throw another bullet in the bike and be just as competitive, if not more competitive. So, like I said, the whole goal this year and the whole mindset, which it always is, but, you got to learn from your mistakes and one of the things is just being prepared and making sure you have full inventory of your bullets in that trailer ready to go. And, we had a spare last year, but it was a little off pace, and we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again.
So I have to ask you this last one. Any other sports you pay attention to? It's football season. Are you a football guy? And if so, who's your team?
Don't say you're Jets fan. Let's not go there.
I can't say that I'm a football fan. I'm a drag race fan through and through, and you know what? I'm so busy that it's enough that I pay attention to my own sport. But
Cameron Caruso said the same thing.
It's full-time racing, and then I have a full-time job, as operations supervisor at L3 Harris, and or not supervisor but manager now. So it's there's a lot going on, and then raising two little girls, so it's great. I wouldn't change anything from the world, but that's another thing that we're competing against teams that are, this is a full-time job. They have lots of crew out there working at, there's people working at the shop while they're out on the road racing. There's, the teams, when they go home, the full team's there working on the bikes, working on engines, working on, keeping the race rig. So, we don't have that luxury. So I come back to New York and go to work. My father still works at Luke's Oil, so he'll go to work over there. And then we're working on our engine program after hours. So he works on it after work and on the weekends. And, with all that, we still have been able to be competitive. So, hats off to my dad to be able to still provide us with so much horsepower in order to be competitive with those full-time teams.
It was a good event. Maple Grove was for New Yorkers. Johnny Pacino picked up the win in Pro Stock, Mountain Motor Pro Stock. So
yes,
yeah, not bad.
No, it was great, and they're all family. That's my wife's cousin, so it was a good time out there, and like you said, it was a good time for the Northeast guys to bring home the Wallies, and we've had great success there at Reading. I won it back in 2011, my first year. We won it again 2019, and now this is the third time. 2019, I was able to win the race with Vincent Nobile. So it's been a good race to us, and it's a great way to start off the countdown. It's like I said, we went in a little behind, but it was a good little boost to give us that confidence to get us back in the hunt. So we're right there within points of the rest of the group. And we just got to keep on that consistency and, hopefully build off of that. It's another thing that we've usually when we turn it on, we've had a good consistency, and we've been able to do repeats and even three-peats. So that's what I'm hoping for in this countdown, to really just turn it on, 100% focused and ready to go out there and to continue to turn on win lights and just completely shake it up.
That's what we want, and we're glad you've already shook things up, Hector Arana Jr. Congratulations once again on the NHRA Reading Nationals win there at Maple Grove Raceway. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, guys, thanks for coming out, and thanks again for Getrex and everybody that supports me there. Steve Bryson, Scott Bryson, Pat Galvin. Thanks for all your support. And for Right Trailers, they also jumped on board this year, and they've been helping us out as well. So, thanks to all the other sponsors that help us out. Every little bit helps. We have Worldwide Bearings, Denso Spark Plugs, all those little guys out there, or not little guys, but helping the little guys like me to still be out there racing. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Good night.
Thank you. Good night,
Thank you.
brother.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Great to talk with the winner of NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle there at Maple Grove, Hector Arana Jr. And after the break, Dujane, let's pick up right there and dive into some national event recap with NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle, because I am certainly intrigued on what took place seeing that final. So, folks, this is all brought to you by Weldon High Performance. You need high performance pumps. They are the place to go to for such pumps. NHRA national event up there in Reading, Pennsylvania, Maple Grove Raceway, the House of Chaos. Hey, congratulations to the Koretsky's. Saturday was announced that it was a sellout. Every day was a great crowd. People turn out to that event. If you do ever go to Maple Grove and you've never been, don't show up late. You're not getting in anytime soon. But congratulations to the Koretsky's. They keep doing a fine job. I keep hearing that each and every improvement they make, and they continue to make improvements, just helps make that place an even better place to race. That final round, though, Dujane, Gadsden, who we know can ride, and I've interacted with him from time to time, and cool guy, can certainly ride. He can go out there and he can be an intense competitor. He's going to get wins. I wouldn't even be shocked before long that he is an NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle champion, frankly. Yeah. But the final round is Gadsden and Arana. I look at that, and I obviously, with not seeing the national broadcast of the national event or any of the reruns, wow, what happened to Gage out there in competition?
Like I told him, he put the pressure on him, man. Like, Hector was running good all day. In first round, he ran an 83. Second round, he ran an 81, 681-2. Comes right back in the semis, and Gage ran an 83 in round 2, had the bye. He ran an 85 in the first round, and the pressure was on. Hector was quite consistent. By that time, tracks kind of warmed up a little bit. Hector, great leave, 028. I just think that negative 002 for Gage was pressure, because Hector had a consistent bike all day long, and it showed up again in the finals. Richard 6.874, but left on him, but Hector walked him down. A 683.9, 198.38 miles per hour. He was just on it. Hector was on it all day long, right around in the 20s for reaction times. had the bad reaction time in round one, but that was because Gianna Evaristo went red, so probably threw him off a little bit. But he lived right around the 20s, had only won in the high 30s, and that was against Angie, but still was better than her. So he just had one heck of a day. And when you're running like that, man, guys are going to get up on the wheel a little bit because they know they got to leave on you in order to have an opportunity. And Gage went red, and that's pressure. I call that the John Force factor.
The other element to the national event that stands out for me that I did catch on social media is that Jack Beckman had a scare. John Force Racing had a scare in that Joe Morrison almost picked up what I believe would be his first professional round win, but it drifted. He took out a block.
Yes.
And the Hartman Smith NHRA Nitro Funny car was put on the trailer with Joe wheeling it as he's still getting used to a Nitro Funny car, and Jack was able to get a win light, even though smoked the tires from the hit, from what I understand.
Yeah, he smoked the tires a little bit. And he was behind, and I was like, man, Joe's going to do this thing. Nitro Joe is going to get himself around win, and I'm like, oh, pull it back. Say it ain't so, Nitro Joe. Took the block out.
Man.
Yeah, it was so close. But man, it was gonna be an upset, big time upset, just as much as Doug Coletta going up in smoke. And I'm gonna reserve the criticism that we had for AJ in his case of the yips in previous years. I'm gonna wait and see what happens in Charlotte. If it happens again, we going back to saying, what the heck's going on, AJ? Why we got a case of the yips now?
Interesting, especially when let's remember, Redding had issues for Coletta last year, but they're able to rocket back, win the championship with Doug. So, people coming out and performing exceptionally well at Redding, it's not do or die time quite yet. I mean, you need to step up and you need to perform, and you want that consistency. But we've seen this story before. Justin Ashley now with the points lead. We've seen this before.
Yes.
And him go through the countdown and lose that points lead. Yeah, they're certainly hoping that's not the case. Do they have a team that's capable of going on and winning this championship? They certainly do. But we have seen that change. We've seen Antron step up early within the countdown and not come away with the championship. I do have to ask, again, playing the advocate of the individuals, like what the heck's going on in the NHRA? Brittany Force, how did she fare in Top Fuel competition?
Not good. Not very good, sir. That's a first round exit for Miss Brittany, losing to Steve Torrance. She was in the ballpark, 72, but I mean, at the end of the day, the thing went up in smoke, and that was that. Another car with the case of the yips. Can't afford that, being so where she is. And to be honest with you, I don't really think anybody below 5, 6 maybe has a shot. If you're below Clay Milligan, you're jockeying for position from 7 on down. That's the way I see it. But very unfortunate for a team that really needed to go rounds that first race and did not go rounds, and that's tough. And it's going to be it. There are no championship hopes. Okay, let's just say that unless the bottom falls out from the top. I don't think there's any championship hopes. And I think Dave W made a good point on the Not Bland show about the fact that even though we've got all those cars at the top in the standings, every one of those cars in the top in the standings has gone out in the first round. Justin Ashley, Antron Brown, who is second, Sean Langdon, Doug Coletta, Steve Torrance, who I believe is really teetering on falling from the sky with his level of inconsistency, especially with Clay right behind him. Any one of those cars that are in that order have gone out in the first round, have made mistakes. So really, it's still anybody's game because no one has really stepped up and shown that we can put it together week by week. We've seen Justin and Antron get wins, put things together. They look pretty consistent, and the next thing you know, in the next race, they can't even find their tune-up with a dartboard. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and it's going to be tight all the way. It's going to be interesting all the way because, again, the level of consistency with those cars haven't been able to put it together. We haven't been able to rinse and repeat, so to speak.
Right. Every countdown race is important, but if you're going to have issues, get them out of the way now. Yeah. Even if it's in qualifying, Drag Racing Mayhem, I'm referring to the qualifying incident last year.
Yeah.
And you got things turned around for them and what they move forward with. So, right, I think of when it comes to one of the races that, all right, you can start cutting the contenders from the pretenders is St. Louis.
Yes.
And then you continue to see even more clearly Dallas, it seems like.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet. So you can still have a hiccup in Charlotte and possibly turn things around if you have an exceptional run. So we've got yet again another interesting setup for going into the Carolina Nationals at ZMAX Dragway. Funny car, I know we talked about it already with Beckman in perspective, but Proc, the Proc Rocket, driven by Austin Proc and tuned by Jimmy Thomas Proc, they have that car once again in championship form.
Yeah.
But we've seen that car be in that form and not come away with a championship. So it is not a let's give it to Austin Proc at the moment. But what a great rookie year driving a funny car for this accomplished driver.
Yeah, he's having quite the year. And, I think it all starts with his approach and his preparation. I was saying this on the show, on the Not Bland show earlier. The guy, he's calm, cool, and collected before the race. He's laughing and yucking it up and having a good time. But when it's go time, he's a totally different dude. And his tenacity, he's kind of aggressive. He attacks, and it shows, man. It shows, and it really, the props together really take it to the field. And as a driver, Daddy Proc's got to know that he's just got to give his son a race car. That's it. Because at the end of the day, he slipped up once, and he liked to have cussed on national TV because of it. And when he said it wasn't going to happen again, it's not going to happen again. And I don't expect him to slip not once unless this car slips.
Right. We have several other classes that some players are coming to light that we certainly knew had the potential. They certainly perform routinely very well. I think Aaron Stanfield, looking exceptionally strong, but do we see that car be the one that carries the banner for Elite Motorsports through the countdown?
I mean, he's put it together. I mean, I think he's won like 5 races so far. It has to be determined, right? I mean, you got to see him do it. If this was Erica Enders, you could probably go ahead and write yourself a check because you've seen her do that. We haven't seen him do this yet. With that said, he's got the hottest car in Elite right now. And, another one who's just calm, cool, and collected. You don't see him pressing. You don't see him trying to do too much. He just is a rinse and repeat. And as long as the car is there, he's going to be there. And I think for the money, it's top 4 in this class. You got Aaron Stanfield, you got Dallas 9 points behind. Erica Enders is 35, Greg 46. This is going to be a fight for the top 4. Greg's the one that's got to turn it on here and got to pull out a win within the next 3 races and cannot go out early. I think the guy who is really the one that's the challenger, the one who could sneak up and bite Aaron Stanfield, because, see, at some point, one of those 4 are going to face each other first. I mean, maybe not first round, but between second and semi, they're going to face each other. And Dallas Glenn, he remembers not winning that championship because of himself. And he's another one that's rising, doing a really good job, being pretty consistent. The question is, can he execute when the lights are bright and the moment is big?
Did we have anybody that is 11th, 12th, or 13th in the countdown perform in any professional category?
I'm going to say that answer is no. No.
Okay.
Yep. Nah.
Any other thoughts on the NHRA national event from Maple Grove Raceway in Reading, Pennsylvania?
Oh, man, it was a good setup. A good setup for what's to come. A lot of good storylines coming through here. Some that I'll be watching. First one is Justin Ashley. Like you said, we've seen this story before. You go back and look at the statistics and go back and look at what he did last year. His biggest problem, I say last year and the years before, he goes out first round 2 times in the countdown, and he usually goes out second round at least once. That's been the story. You can go back. Actually, you can probably go back 3 years, and the story is the same. I think it was, last year or the year before, where he was hot, won all these races coming into it, and then burped and farted and was out of contention. They got to find a way to get over that hump right there, because it's consistently been one of those things. Tony Stewart, not Tony Stewart, but Steve Torrance is another one. Very, very inconsistent. You're lucky to be where you are at this moment. They have to find it within the next 2 races. If they don't, they're going to be looking at an opportunity, just fighting to see where they finish out at. Bob Tasca, the man you got to get is Proc. And the fact of the matter is, wherever it is, you have to outpoint him and you have to outperform. That requires you to get wins. Because 9 times out of 10, if he's on the opposite ladder of you, you're likely going to meet him in the final. So you've got to get the wins and got to get the small points in qualifying if you want to have a shot. It's time to turn it on now. The problem with them is the inconsistencies. You know what I mean? And they've got to start being more consistent. If you're not, this is already looking like it's Proc's championship to lose. But you got to turn it on now. It's got to be now. And I'm going to go with Erica Enders in Pro Stock. Hadn't looked very good. Up and down, not very consistent. We've seen her turn it on, but in the big spectrum of sports, you don't get into the playoffs or back your way into the playoffs and then expect to go and hit the light switch and we're going to turn on championship play. But if anybody could do it, it's her. But it needs to start. The progression needs to start this weekend, period. And Pro Stock Motorcycle, it's everybody that's in contention that has a shot. I'm not pointing out any one person. We already know who the bar is.
Right.
It's up to the competition to show consistency. We know Matt Smith's got the horsepower, but sometimes it just don't show up on Sunday. And that's not just with Matt. It's his other bikes as well, with the most consistent one really being Gianna. So everything's got to be right. We can't be missing on the tree, can't be sleep, can't give away races. It's all about performing and performing at the highest level, because you already know one slip up and Gage is going to be champion again. And to me, he seems a little bit vulnerable. So it's time for folks to take advantage of it. And there's a lot of consistent bikes out there, but there's also a lot of folks, a lot of riders just throwing it away on the tree. Got to be better. So that's what I'm looking at coming into Charlotte. Again, a great track with great temperatures. We always see really good numbers. It's going to be one of those races that you better hit on day one of qualifying, or you're going to be playing catch up the rest of the day. And if you're playing catch up the rest of qualifying, when you go into race day, you're hoping that you make it out of first round. And that's not how you keep pace to win a championship.
Right. And the NHRA Carolina Nationals many times tends to play in favor for those teams that can really lay it down because of that track, that surface, and there tends to be conditions that can produce spectacular numbers. I mean, last year we got that first 300 miles per hour pass to the 8th mile with Mike Salinas. So, and I think there was even some track records reestablished in that race, if I remember correctly. And I think from what I understand, there has been a tropical system move through. There's probably going to be some coolness behind it in the Concord, North Carolina area. And we may very well see those favorable conditions that those teams that can throw it down, they're going to have a track that's going to be able to hold just about all that they can put down to it. So you might see some of those people really rise to the top in this event. Granted, we're going to, as usual, be looking at the what ifs. What if Joe Morrison doesn't hit that block and you have Jack Beckman not going on to a final round? And there's many other what ifs throughout the day. What if, you look back last year, what if Alex Laughlin was not Ron Capps' kryptonite in so many round ones? Okay. That was Jim Dunn's car. Well, can Buddy Hull be that? And it didn't look like that was going to be the case early on, but then that team gets rolling and it impacts, it upsets the apple cart for those in the championship chase. So we're going to be looking at those what ifs going through this countdown, and they're going to happen. They're going to take place.
Yeah.
I'm like you. There are narratives, though, such as with Justin Ashley. We have seen this before. Can it finally be a change of narrative and they seal it all the way to Pomona and earn Justin Ashley's first championship?
Yeah.
We certainly know the team's capable. We certainly know he's capable. It's just all of it coming together on race day.
Yeah.
In that case. So, again, for me, I really think the race, because it just seems like some wild stuff happens there each and every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's St. Louis. It's right across Mississippi there in Madison, Illinois, at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Yes.
That is where things really start becoming separated and apparent. Maple Grove, spectacular. Charlotte, spectacular. But we really start seeing the picture by the time we get to Worldwide Technology Raceway. And really after round one. Like round one, Worldwide Technology Raceway tends to be that,
Yeah. And Andrew, don't believe the hype. Just wait. If you see it, get excited. But I'm done like waiting for it and thinking that it's going to happen because things look favorable. The one thing that we have learned this year is that when we've had favorable conditions, there are a lot of crew chiefs that seem to wet the bed. Go back. I mean, the whole regular season. So here we are in the countdown, and sure, the guys who make the horsepower should be running big numbers. But you know what has been happening the whole entire season is they've been missing. So when someone tells you something or shows you something, you believe it until they prove otherwise. So I don't trust none of them to go out and hit big numbers because we've seen qualifying sessions with great conditions that are stellar that are supposed to happen, and like 2 cars go down the track.
Right. And you also have to wonder, the further we go, that 341, just how special was it? Or the flip side of it, just how concocted was it?
Yeah, I get where you're going there. Yeah.
You just have to wonder, like, are we, if this continues, will it become a Karamassini's 204 type of discussion and talk and scenario if we don't have it happen anytime soon? I mean, you already have people that talk that way. And I hope it does happen. I hope it happens really, and it's again with Bob Tasca.
Yes.
And Aaron Brooks and Todd Okahara. I hope it's those guys again. We certainly know that car's got the steam. They have been not that far off from the 340 mark.
Yep.
In qualifying. They just haven't hit it there in NHRA trim. And I think we'll see great conditions. 340, man, if it happens, great. But kind of like what Andrew is getting at, I'm kind of over, we might see 340. We might see 340. It's going to happen. And when it does happen, it's going to be a great thing. It's going to be a wonderful thing. And it's going to happen. But I don't know if it's going to be Charlotte or not.
I don't know.
It could be Worldwide Technology Raceway if the conditions are just right. It could be the Fall Nationals in Texas if just right. It could be. I mean,
a lot of coulds. A lot of coulds.
Yes.
For sure.
Also, Andrew brings up some what ifs outside of the countdown and just future of drag racing. Certainly take that question. Thoughts? What Caps said about team expanding at Indy. Also, Julie making her debut coming up at World Technology Raceway with Scrappers. Let me go back and answer that last part of that question first. One, I think we finally understand now why she hasn't been at all that focused on defending her title. She accomplished what she wanted to, and she moved on. Yep. Yeah, I'm going to race. I'm going to pick up some wins. I'm going to keep my competitive edge, but I'm looking to Top Fuel, and she's been working towards that, earned her Top Fuel license back at Virginia Motorsports Park. And she has continued to get test laps in and had this announcement that they're going to make a debut with Scrappers Racing at Worldwide Technology Raceway. So good for her. Glad to see that. Mm-hmm. And wow, I mean, you've got someone that's proven to have some driving ability and is a champion in top alcohol dragster with a team that they certainly know how to get a car down the track. So you've got someone, what I'm saying is you've got someone vying for another qualifying spot. And you know that these top teams, it's like Antron says, round one is like a final round.
Yeah.
And at this point, qualifying is almost like final rounds.
Yeah.
I mean,
you got to put up a good number.
Like when TJ Zizzo enters, ooh, when Doug Foley enters, oof, when Kyle Wurzel has, if I'm not mistaken, his best ET in mile per hour is at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and he did it in round 1, barely losing to Steve Torrance, who was in a title hunt.
Yeah.
Okay? So,
gotta have your mentals together. That's all I'm saying. Gonna be a problem when you got to worry about all these cars that have potential. And yeah, it's about time, but it wasn't a surprise. You know what I mean? I know everybody put breaking news or whatever, but I said that a while back when she tested that was going to happen.
Yeah, and there's been a relationship there.
Exactly.
If you look at the social network that is there, Jasmine and Julie know each other. They're connected with Travis Shoemaker. He's got help from scrappers and things of that nature. So and they're all pretty tight. So no shock that it's scrappers. No shock that she's going ahead and getting a debut in and put herself out there, get on national television, get in the big show, and see what you can build upon from there. Now with Caps, there's an article, I believe it was by Susan Wade, Auto Week, that broke that news and that he intends to expand. We shouldn't see it by 2025, maybe 2026. It seemed like the article and what was being stated by Caps is, I want to expand, but I am not in a hurry to expand. But the intent is to expand. Let me say, I'm so glad that you got Antron and Caps going out there, forming their own teams, and they want to have like driver development programs. They want to give other people a shot and put them in their race cars. That's good to hear. Because I think in many ways, these won't just be rent-to-rides. They will be people that have the talent and ability to be in those cars. Now, the individual that you have it swirling around of who it will be, well, in the article, it mentioned that there is an individual that Caps is thinking about. And a lot of people threw out names. In the article, it actually did refer to Julie Natus and said no, though certainly exceptional and capable.
Yeah.
It said, though, that the individual is making her first ever Indy start. Well, you start doing the math, you start looking through the fields, and it mentioned in the alcohol ranks. Well, there were only, from what I could tell, 2 ladies that were making a start. First ever at the U.S. Nationals. And one of them, I'm not sure, haven't dove in on name-wise. The most apparent one, though, it's Madison Gordon.
Yeah. Okay.
So you've got Californians. The Gordons are close to the Caps. Caps close to Gordon. He was there in Bakersfield when she was trying to get her license early on. Also was there in Brainerd. Actually signed off on the license. I interviewed him after Maddie got her license. I think there's potential there that you could see Madison Gordon in a Ron Capps Motorsports program in the future. And what a great pick that really would be.
Yeah, I know he had mentioned on a show, and I don't even remember where I heard it from. It could have been WFO or whatever, but he mentioned the fact that about expanding, but he said this would be a driver just like him, how he came along, not paying for a seat or anything like that. He's picking someone that can drive and, bringing them along just like how he was brought along. He didn't have to pay for his seat. So I really like that. And it'll be awesome if it's her. I think that's marketable. The whole 9. So she has the talent by far. So
yes.
It would be really cool to see that. And like you said, I'm really excited about what Antron and Ron Capps are doing with their programs. I understand it had to start somewhere with Angel, but I'm all for bringing in new faces. And to me, it's not a development program if you're not bringing in folks that haven't already done it. You know what I mean? You need to bring in people that are looking to come up, and they're doing a good job of that. And Antron is doing a good job, and not just about driving, but he's also helping individuals run their teams, understand the ins and outs of it, and allowing them to, learn how to go out and get their own sponsorship and be able to sustain themselves. So, that those types of tips are invaluable because it is not just about what's on the track and the car going down the racetrack. It's also about what you need to do off the track as well so that you can be at the track. So all the information, all that training is invaluable. And it's good to see that from some of the elder statesmen in the NHRA.
Right. I think they understand that the sport started in a direction and is still very much in a direction where it's not a healthy place overall. And there needs to be brought back in a direction that if we can find marketing partners with the right driver, and the right driver being that seat, that is what you really want. I mean, Ron, crew member for years, coming up through the alcohol ranks, getting into the fuel ranks, and now team owner. Yeah, you think of it, you look at very similar story to a Maddie Gordon. She may come from a family that has put in a lot of hard work, has a successful business. She isn't someone that has just been handed a ride, though. She has, through her family and operationally, earned that ride. She knows how to work on that car. In fact, she still works on the car. Even though she's the driver, she still works on that car.
That's what's impressive.
So it is someone that certainly would be good placement in a hot rod because she understands how these hot rods work.
Yeah.
And yes, very similar to like Austin Prock. He's more than just a driver. There's footage. I'm so glad that it was on the national broadcast. He's out there on the supercharger, getting it turned around, ready to go for the next round, and that's good to see. And if you'd spent any time out in the pits and just in the shop, you've been able to see that type of thing, and that he is more than just a driver. He can certainly work on these things, and he knows what is going on.
Yeah, definitely. That stuff is also very important. I think it makes drivers better that they understand the workings of the car, have worked on them. I think all of that is a good help for a driver. It's kind of like when an athlete plays both sides of the ball. You know what I mean? A wide receiver in a corner, he understands how he already knows how to run the route, so he already knows what the receivers are running, and then he has played defense. Then it makes him that more valuable because he understands the ins and outs. He understands the little twitches when it might be a sluggo, when it might be a stutter and go. He understands that. So yeah, all of that is real important.
So, Andrew, I would love to dumb down the new pregnancy rule, but I'm dumb to the new rule. And what I mean by that, I have seen the press release, but I have not been able to read as of yet what is the new rule and what's implemented. I will say this, though. Even though I haven't read it, I'm honestly glad there's something in place in a sport that has so many ladies competing at a high professional level. I haven't read it. I know kind of saying that and not read it might not be the wisest thing, but nonetheless, I'm glad it's in the sport now. It was something, honestly, it's like, why wasn't it already?
Yeah. This is a great thing. And I said it on my show earlier. It's, it enables women to not have to make a choice. And I think of Ashley Force. I think of Courtney Force. If this rule was in place, would Ashley have come back? You know what I mean? If this rule was in place and they didn't have to choose racing over a family and they had this opportunity, would Courtney have come back? I mean, I think this is one of these things where these women don't have to make a choice, and they shouldn't have to make a choice. I did read it, guys. It's very convoluted. You know what I mean? It's complex, but it's complex because the way they've worded it. But I think the gist of it, returning to participation type stuff, basically they can go out. It has to be obviously, have to go through all the procedures. There has to be proof there, obviously. And then there's two ways this can be done. They can go out, and if the replacement driver earns the same amount of points for them, then they get credited. If they earn if the replacement driver earns more points, then all points will be going to the replacement driver. So let's say you race half of the regular season, and then the second half of the regular season, your replacement driver, runs and earns more points than you, then you, the driver, do not get the points. The replacement driver does. The countdown thing, I think that's that's the return to participation. That's after you've, had child and can return. And that's towards the countdown, I believe. I think regular season, I think it is the same, sort of the same thing. That during the regular season is the one I don't understand. So that's going to take some sitting down and kind of rereading it again and getting a little understanding. But I do know that. So in the regular season, those too fast, too tasty points do not go or are not part of the points that go towards the countdown to the championship. So they don't get any extra points as far as from what I could read there. Yeah, it says, but no, not including points earned in specialty races such as Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty. So, yeah. The thing is, they got a policy, and they can choose to start a family without having to worry about whether they got to completely just shut down their career and then decide after leaving whether they want to come back. Because, I mean, a mama and their child, that's hard. You know what I mean? And some people may still decide to not come back, but at least it gives them the option. You know what I mean? And I think it's a front runner, man. Nobody else in motorsports has this. So, and as Lonnie said, with fields now that have the potential to have half of its field being females, you got to have something like this in place. And this as the injury policy, really kind of, the injury policy protects the athlete from him or herself. And this policy stops females from having to make a choice. And if they still desire to race, that they have that ability to be comfortable and know that when everything is done and I'm ready to come back, I can and continue my career.
I think it's a good move overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Good move overall.
NHRA, leaders in motorsports on this one.
Well, in this aspect.
In this aspect, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, gotta give them the credit.
Other areas, maybe not.
At least in this one. This one's big. This one's big.
One of the challenges the NHRA has is you've got all of these diversity movements. And the NHRA is like, we've been diverse. Like you can't have a diversity movement in the NHRA because it's already so diverse within it, and that's a beautiful thing for sure. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. It's going to be interesting to see who might be the first lady to have this rule implemented. We're in a situation where John Force Racing is obviously using a rule that I don't think we've ever seen implemented until now. So some interesting things for sure. And again, the progression of the sport, and I think this one in a positive way for sure.
Yeah.
When you consider the progression of the sport, though, I do think there are things from the past that we can look at and bring back into the modern day. So I don't know if everyone here how familiar you are with the Southeast Gassers Association, but some great drag racing, some cool cars, great folks. Adam Lohorn, he has the Rod Slinger Falcon. And just go search YouTube when you get an opportunity, or go search Google Adam Lohorn Rod Slinger Falcon, and you're going to see someone that understands how to be a showman and put on a show and excite the fans. And there's times where I like to, at a drag strip, try to be very observant of like what is engaging people, what is actually exciting them. You know, for example, there were days and times where drag racing didn't have burnouts. Okay. And it was run after run after run after run after run after run after run. And you had a very quick pace to drag racing. Well, then you start having burnouts. Burnouts do slow down the pace of a drag race because you got the burnout and then the backing up and you know things of that nature. Now bracket racing, they've got the burnout thing. I mean, it's almost run after run after run, you know, until you get someone that wants to, unbuckle their glove and they're like they're some Major League Baseball pitcher, like put the car in the lights, dude. And I'm sorry.
Right.
Anyway, Adam Lohorn, he goes out there, he just gets it. He's got a cool looking car, but he does a long smoky burnout. He backs up. He doesn't have to do a dry hop, but he dry hops the thing. And then, there's my photo. And then he leaves. He puts it on the bumper just about every time at launch. He's out there having a blast. He's out there even turning on some wind lights. And he's out there putting on the show. When people see this car come up, like at Knoxville, it might not be the safest thing ever, but there's a chain link fence that runs on the old retainer wall for the circle track. Because Knoxville Dragway was a circle track at one time, then converted into a drag strip, which it is now. And this chain link fence, people would get on and kind of like hang up and over and like watch car. And that people are just like, we've got to watch this thing run.
Right.
And honestly, there are aspects that because of competition that have went by the wayside, just look back in the past and some of this formula still works. Like
it does.
Give me a good burnout, give me a dry hop, and leave with the wheels up. Now, maybe not Adam Lohorn wheels up every time.
Right.
But give me some wheels up and give me where the wheels got that free weight moment of like, you know, they're just dangling, and put on a show.
Yeah. I love it.
And you get that with him and several others in Southeast Gassers Association action. Knoxville Dragway actually reported that their turnout for the new ownership that's there, I think been there for 2-3 years, that's probably the best event they've had to date. It had some great weather, and even able to have that date in Knoxville, Tennessee on a day that the Volunteers were playing. That was spectacular. Yes. Yeah. People were at the drag strip in their volunteer gear. And I'm sure after the races, they went on down to Rocky Top next to the river and enjoyed the Volunteers. They went on and did win. I was very surprised by that. Nonetheless. But you have a great show at the Southeast Gas Association. I, in particular, covered A-Gas once again. Leslie Horn is walking away with the championship. He now has won 4 races on the year. He won the first race at Knoxville earlier in the year, and then since London, Kentucky, 3 races ago, it's 3 wins in a row. Wow. Absolutely dominating the show. And he also reestablished the A-Gas elapsed time record. Now, the series as a whole does not display the times. And they do that. Their idea is, hey, we're trying to keep it as period correct as possible. Also, if there's a difference between ETs when you got cars in the final, you're going to come back for the final because it's heads up. You never know what's going to happen. There's some thinking behind that they chose to go that way. I'm fine with it. I don't need ETs to enjoy a drag race. It doesn't bother me. But they do keep records. And he reestablished it, again, 8th Mile drag racing with these cars that are based on older tech. Now, that doesn't mean that they're running like all ancient tech, but you got sitting high, straight axles, so smaller tire, not the biggest tire you can run.
Right.
And in a 55 Chevrolet, he reestablished a record, a 521 with a 1.
Wow.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
4-speed.
amazing.
Yeah.
Extra classic. I like that.
Right.
That's
right.
nice.
So right now, he is points leader. He has won 4 races on the year, 3 in a row, and reestablished the record. Basically, Leslie Horn, the competition needs him not to show up.
Yeah, you know that ain't happening.
At the championship in Vegas.
You know that ain't happening, so it's a wrap.
Right. Again, folks, if you've never been able to see a Southeast Gas Association race, I highly recommend it. Some great drag racing, some great cars, some cool people. It is definitely worth it. And look, you're not going to be stuck at the drag strip all day either. They started the show at 1 o'clock for qualifying, and we wrapped up eliminations at 8:30, I believe.
That ain't bad.
So you can catch eliminations starting at like 3:34, and in 4 hours see a complete drag race and go home.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. That's appealing.
They have a very good, concise show for sure. Sure. And awesome. Plenty of drag racing this weekend. I mean, we've mentioned it. NHRA has got the NHRA Carolina Nationals at ZMAX Dragway, and we are certainly going to be eyeballing that and the what ifs and who did what and who didn't do what and who comes away looking better, who comes away being a pretender. But you certainly have a lot of drag racing happening around the country. Dave W. mentions Nostalgia Nationals that it's Milan Dragway, right? They don't say Milan, Milan Dragway, I believe. And you've got drag racing at what is now Mid-State Dragway, back to the original name. Many people might know it as Central Illinois Dragway in Havana, Illinois. The Nitro Chaos Championship Finals will be taking place there. I believe there is Southern Outlaw Pro Mod Series drag racing going on at Highway 22 Motorsports Park down in Alabama, something like that.
Yeah.
You've got Big Money Bracket Bracket Racing. They just got done with the original $1 million race there at Worldwide Technology Raceway. I think one day they were like 800 entries.
Wow.
For a bracket race, just absolutely insane. You've got the Fall Fling coming up at Bristol Dragway. Look, across the board, a lot of drag racing. Go catch it. There's no stop just going to NHRA national events.
Your local track has some really good stuff, by the way.
There's good stuff there. There's other series that's coming in and out.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what you're going to be able to experience. Yes, thank you, Drag Racing Mayhem, reminding us the SmackDown, they're calling it Flying H Dragway, Flying H Drag Strip, Odessa, Missouri, for the Midwest Drag Racing Series, $150,000 pro mod race.
That should be fun. That's going to be fun.
That's the biggest payout for pro mods in history, I believe.
Wow.
For like a single race. And you've got that happening. So it's happening all over, okay? And I didn't mention much on the West Coast. I'm not sure exactly. It's hard to keep up with all of it.
It is.
That's why I need to get back to Between the Slicks. Got to fire that back up. Been a crazy summer.
Yeah.
But when you do drag news, you're definitely going to miss something because there is something happening everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And it gets tougher for me because it's football season. So I think Dave W, he saw my spread for this Sunday as you're watching the national event. I've got one game on one screen on my PC, and I've got other stuff on my big TV. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yes. So, folks, just keep enjoying drag racing.
Yeah,
it's pretty good right now.
It is. It's
pretty
been a good time.
Well, it's been a good time right here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Dujanay, good to chat with you through the show. Good to have each and every one of you in, like they like to say in the bracket racing live streams, the chat bleachers.
Yeah.
Here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Each and every one of you, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy a drag race. God bless, and keep the pedal to the metal. This has been, I think, a peak show. Now, a peak moment.
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it P. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze, and coolant. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day.